the part of the show where I analyze people's Goodreads accounts and recommend them a book I think they will love. Alright, today we're going to start with one of my good friends in the booktube space who has been patiently waiting on my list for years, and that is Jen from Today in Jen's Library. She's my romance book reading buddy, but she, unlike me, actually has the guts to read romance books in audiobook form, whereas I get embarrassed at hearing sex scenes read aloud. She has rated 857 books with an average rating of 3.74 and is a Goodreads librarian. I am excited that Jen, like me, loved Illuminae, which is this sci-fi young adult book that came out last year that is just uniquely written and enthralling. Jen just says wow, just wow when she describes this book. It is so well done, guys. She, like me, is an avid Jill Shalvis fan, loves her dialogue, all that. It's very interesting to read Jen's reviews of Lucky Harbor from book 1 onwards, as you can see how she just falls in love as the books go on. First book, this is pretty good. Towards the end of the series, there's a lot of ahs in her reviews. We both just read the first book in Jill Shalvis's new series, Heartbreaker Bay, and we both agree, while pleasant, it was really just a standard plot from Jill. I personally felt like Jill kind of phoned this one in just a little bit. Jen loves The Martian. She gave it 500 stars, if that was possible. We're both fans of the Parasol Protectorate series. As Jen puts it, forget everything you thought you knew about vampires and werewolves in the 19th century. Throw it right out the window, because this is the good stuff. Seriously, Jen is much better than I am at writing Goodreads reviews. I typically give it one very abstract, non-concrete sentence, and she has these eloquent paragraphs. Seriously, go follow her on Goodreads. She's got the best reviews. Jen also loves Neil Gaiman's The Ocean at the End of the Lane, saying it actually rendered her speechless. She has a very good review of one of my favorite Kristen Higgins books, Until There Was You, which has this unconventional boyish-looking main character who I adored. Jen wasn't as head over heels for this one as I was, but she did point out, I think very correctly, that things in this book weren't convenient. The whole setup should not have worked, and yet she still got drawn into the world. She did not like The Raven Boys the first time through, thought it was kind of slow, until she reread it, and then she loved it. I think the melodic pacing of The Raven Boys is one of my favorite parts of this series, personally. She did not like the first book in the Beautiful Bastard series. Essentially, she doesn't seem to be a big fan of romance books that are just one sex scene strung after another. She actually needs a good story. She did not like Thoughtless, which is a new adult book that we actually just read together, and she just said, no, I cannot do this. I'm actually on the same page with her on this one. I just don't know, it wasn't for me. I do have to say, I have gotten so many recommendations from Jen over the years, so it is my pleasure to return the favor. We mostly tend to agree on the books we read, so I'm fairly confident I can pick something she'll like. Jen is a big contemporary romance fan, if you cannot tell, so I'm going to stay in that genre, but I'm going to recommend a book by one of my favorite historical romance authors who recently started writing new adult, and that is Courtney Milan, and the book is Trade Me. It's about Tina Chen, who is pretty poor, and Blake Reynolds, sexy billionaire. Somehow they make this deal to switch lives. She'll live like the billionaire, and he'll learn what it's like to scrape by trying to make ends meet. Yes, it is over the top, as most new adult typically is, but I know that Jen can get down with that if it's done well. I'm mostly just really curious about what she thinks of this book, because I loved it, but I can also look at it objectively and know why people might not like it as much as I did. Okay, my second victim is Allie's Bookish life. She's 22 and lives in Brazil. She loves middle grade young adult dystopian and contemporary drama, as well as Heart's Pink, Hot Tea, and Days in Watching Movies. She's rated 524 books with an average rating of 4.15, so she's usually pretty generous in her ratings. She loved Gone Girl more than the movie, and she loved the movie quite a bit. She loves Eleanor and Park. She thought it did what all books should, and that is tear at every emotion you have. She adored Water for Elephants, calling it one of her favorite books of all time. I also love Water for Elephants. I think it's one of the better circus-themed books, second to The Night Circus, of course. She, like me, read a a separate piece in high school and loved it. If you didn't have to read this one in high school, it's set in World War II and is about innocence and jealousy and thoughtless actions destroying lives. And Allie recommends it to anyone wanting to read a good classic that is young adult historical fiction. A girl after my own heart, Allie disliked Wuthering Heights. She found the characters whiny and annoying. Agreed. Also, like me, she wasn't a huge fan of The Catcher in the Rye, thought it was a bit anticlimactic. She did not like Bridge to Terabithia, finding the character just mean and just flat. Okay, so I think I'm getting a picture here of a bookish feeling that Allie likes and doesn't like. Good characterization is important to her, as well as a certain weight of mood that she responds to, but that mood can't edge into the self-serious. I am going to recommend a book that is currently sitting on my reread TBR because it's high time I reread it to see how much I still love it. So maybe Allie and I can read it together. That book is The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. This is a very lyrical ode to Gothic literature. Our main character is a biographer who gets the opportunity to write the story of elusive famed novelist Vida Winter before she dies, an author who has never been truly honest about her past, and that past turns out to be fantastical. This book is so very, very good. Enjoy and let me know what you think. Alright, what did you think of my recommendations? What books would you recommend to Jen and Allie?